I was at the end of the rail line and saw 47 homeless people exit the train between 12 and 2 a.m. Now, those 47 had nowhere to go. Estimates I hear are up to 6,000 people a year pass through Santa Monica who were unhoused.
My guest today is Phil Brock, Mayor of Santa Monica. Today he'll discuss the city's approach to crime and homelessness and how he believes Santa Monica is still a thriving city for residents and tourists.
Contrary to what you may hear, Santa Monica is not only open for business, but there's a tremendous amount of investment coming in. There's new housing on the way. We are a city that has gone through dips before, but we're coming back.
I'm Siyamak. Welcome to California Insider. Phil, it's great to have you on. Welcome.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here.
You know, we have been covering Santa Monica, which you're the mayor of the city, and we've been covering a lot of problems in Santa Monica. And sometimes when we cover issues, we're covering from the negative perspective, but there's a lot that the city still offers, and despite some of the challenges it's facing. We want to talk to you today about the challenges, and it looks like you guys have some opportunities to resolve these challenges. So homelessness has been a big issue for you guys. Can you tell us what's going on with homelessness in your city?
Well, we obviously are in the midst of a crisis on homelessness, but that crisis extends to LA. It extends to many parts of the United States. We felt it more deeply because we're the end of Route 66, because we have a light rail line that comes directly to the Santa Monica Pier, and because of a lot of the conditions around us in Los Angeles. So it's been much harder to control the amount and types of people that we have to help. But Santa Monica, first and foremost, will always lead with compassion. So we're never going to be a city that ignores the homeless or tries to just kick them out. So we have a more nuanced approach.
And when you say you're having people come, can you explain to us how does the metro affect you guys? Who are the people that are coming?
The metro's had a large effect on us. We estimate between metro, bus lines, the freeway, that we may get up to 6 homeless individuals an hour from outside Santa Monica. The estimates I hear are up to 6,000 people a year pass through Santa Monica who are unhoused. Well, that's a terrible statistic. It's unfortunate. The metro line sends their last 4 trains of the night into Santa Monica. Those trains originate in East Los Angeles and downtown LA. So I was at the end of the rail line 4 Friday nights ago and saw 47 homeless people exit the train between 12 and 2 a.m. Now, those 47 had nowhere to go, no housing, no places to stop for the night, no restrooms, nothing. They came to Santa Monica. Many of them were asleep on the expo line when the sheriff's deputies asked them to get off the train. The problem is they come to our streets and our beaches and have nowhere else to go for the night. That's created a lot of the negative perceptions. We're asking LA County, and they are responding slowly, but they are starting to respond to make sure that everyone on the train has paid a fare, that everyone on the trains are not just coming to stay in Santa Monica. So to their credit, the LA County Sheriff's Department has increased patrols, has increased the amount of deputies at the end of the line as well. But it's still a serious issue because it's different than some cities. We have a percentage who try and stay in the city who are unhoused, a percentage who have problems and want to stay in Santa Monica. But many are passing through an average 2 weeks at a time, and they circulate between Venice, directly south of Santa Monica, or in our city.
And when you see these individuals, I'm sure you guys have looked into what's their background, what are they looking for? Is it financial challenges they're facing? Can you tell us what's...
Well, I think I think each person is individual. Each person is different. Obviously, at some point, they have either financial challenges, mental health challenges, something going on. I would call it nationally an epidemic of loneliness, that in our nation right now, because of COVID, people were socially isolated. They stopped being able to go out, stopped being able to talk to anyone other than their Zoom screen for 2.5 years. That made a difference. Some people fell into addiction. They then lost their job, eventually lost their apartment. Now they're unhoused, and whether it's from Missouri or Texas or North Carolina or Detroit, Michigan, many of them choose to come west. The climate's better. If you were homeless, would you rather be in Philadelphia or Santa Monica? And unfortunately, the answer is they'd rather be in Santa Monica. But as a rule, we have to treat each person differently, but there are unifying characteristics. And one is, yes, you may have lost your housing somewhere else. But coming to Santa Monica, we don't have very many unhoused people who lived in Santa Monica or lived in West Los Angeles. Most of those people now are coming from other parts of the United States.
But you guys have some anti-camping laws. People are not allowed to camp there. So how are people staying?
Well, first of all, yes, we do have anti-camping laws that are enforced on our beaches, enforced through most of our city. But many of the people who are sleeping in Santa Monica overnight are people who have just laid down with a sleeping bag or a blanket and just lay down in a storefront. It's almost impossible to clear every homeless person every night because the movements are constantly shifting. And the question is, when you clear them and you ask them to get up from where they are, where do they go? We don't have a space for 800 to 1,000 people to congregate at night. We have between 200 and 300 beds available to us, and we try and utilize all of those. But frankly, no city has enough. We are also building affordable housing. We're building supportive housing, trying to do the best we can. And we spend about $10 million a year in grants to fund nonprofit homelessness solutions in the city and groups. We spend another $28 million, $30 million on police and fire response for those homeless individuals. The amount of money we're spending and the amount of help that we're trying to give is immense. But honestly, it's never enough. I need mental health professionals on our streets, street teams who will help work with homeless people to either get them to return to their homes, if their families will take them. We've always paid for transport for those things. Tried to get them into mental health or alcohol abuse centers. The Salvation Army, for instance, runs a great program in Santa Monica that holds about 60 homeless men who, whether they're homeless or not, have been addicted to alcohol or drugs, and has a great program, probably the best I've seen, at getting them clean, sober, ready to resume a life, because that's the goal. The goal is that anybody who's homeless on our streets, how do you get them clean? How do you get them off the streets? How do you get them the help they deserve? And find a way to have them regain their place in society. That should be the goal everywhere. It's not necessarily housing first. It is support first. And yes, with homelessness, with everything else in society, there has to be accountability. So if you are unhoused in Santa Monica and refuse to accept help, that's where the Supreme Court grants past decision, the decisions made by the governor, decisions made by the mayor of San Francisco, mayor of San Jose, other mayors in California make a difference. You have to have a way for everyone to be accountable for their actions, whether they're unhoused or housed. And the people who really are at the stage where they can't take care of themselves, the governor's care court would be a great first start, but it has to be implemented and funded everywhere in the state.
We're covering California issues, as you know. If you want us to cover the stories that are impacting your day-to-day life in California, reach out to me at siyamak@californiainsider.com. Now, what percentage of the people that you guys have that are living or sleeping in the streets, what percentage of them refuse to accept the help? Is there a big percentage?
I wouldn't be able to give you an exact percentage total, but I would tell you in my personal view, it's a large amount who do not want to accept any rules. And to go into supportive housing, to go into abuse counseling, there are rules. There are many of these people who said, look, we don't want rules. And some of them were veterans who the armed forces taught to live on the streets, taught to live without anything. When you go in the armed forces, they give you 3 months of basic training, but then only a week or two to discharge. So we're not helping them regain their lives. Many get addicted to opiates. They lose the ability to want to live inside, or they have PTSD, which hurts their chances of living a normal life. We need to find ways to help them, and I'm very proud that as a member of the U.S. Conference of Mayors Homelessness Task Force, yesterday it was announced that veterans who needed housing because they were disabled, and veterans who were also obtaining their full benefits from the VA, they were unable to also get housing. Now, yesterday, that changed. So if you are a veteran who is receiving your benefits, it will not count against your ability to get supportive housing, affordable housing, and be taken care of. We estimate that 94 to 110 U.S. veterans live on our streets every night. Wow. Now, some of them may still not want housing, some of them may still not want support, but there are others who have lost hope. I believe working with Congress, working with the White House, we've been able to change that scenario. Yesterday it was announced publicly. I'm extremely proud of being on the Homelessness Task Force, going to Washington, working with other mayors throughout the nation to change Housing and Urban Development Department's views on what was deserved by our veterans. That will help reduce homelessness in Santa Monica.
That's great news to hear. And now, going back to Grand Pass, you mentioned the Supreme Court had a ruling, and there is an effort from a lot of cities across the state. Can you tell us what this means for you guys?
Well, first, we have a different situation, or the same situation clothed differently in Santa Monica. We have not allowed camping. We have rules that say you cannot pitch a tent on our streets. We don't have those large encampments of 5, 10, 50, 100 people living together on sidewalks. So we've been able to clear that for years. We weren't affected by that. There's a couple of things we can do that we can tweak to make it easier to move people if they will not accept help. And look, I think we could expand the rule that says that we could offer people transportation to their home city. We've always done that, as I said previously, with the family's permission. Maybe that can be expanded. And our police will have more teeth to enforce a no camping rule. If somebody says, I don't care, I just want to stay here, leave me alone, we'll have more teeth to say, ma'am or sir, you can't just sit here. You can't stay in the public right away. That will, over time, give us more teeth to be able to change people's scenarios, and that's important.
Phil, one of the things that we've covered on the show is the safety issues in the city. And from what we've gathered, a lot of it had to do with unhoused people, individuals that are on drugs, and attacking or having these kind of crimes. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first, there's the fear factor. So because social media spreads the bad news so incredibly quickly, people in Santa Monica, many people have now become fearful of utilizing the public spaces they always have, even if nothing would ever happen to them. but there's now that fear factor. So it's incumbent upon our city administration to change that scenario. I want you to feel safe walking our streets, driving our highways, bicycling. I want you to feel safe in our city, your city, as a resident. That's number one. Number two, you have to differentiate between the types of crime. We have the crime of stealing the copper out of lampposts, stealing catalytic converters, invading your yard, trying to invade your house. Almost all of that comes from criminals that are driving in from Los Angeles. So we will be employing high-tech methods to stop all that. We will have ALPR cameras at our borders that will detect cars that are stolen. We are expanding our drone program to make sure that if you come in our city in a stolen car, that we can have something overhead while we get police units to the scene. And in addition to that, we are, of course, adding more police as quickly as we can. We run the roadblocks on that, but we're much better than we were in 2022, for instance. So if you look and if you're willing to walk through our streets, you'll see the improvement. And I would bet you today, if you and I after this show took a walk down the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica throughout downtown, you'd be pleasantly surprised. It is clean. Stores are opening. And yes, I want to stop the random acts of violence in the city where someone who is mentally incapacitated by their addiction and they've lost the chance to see right and wrong. So those people we need to stop, and I want to stop them before they hit someone, before they do something that is uncivilized, as we would say. Now that requires more public safety personnel, not always police. It could be a Salvation Army or People Concern or St. Joseph Center street team. It could be unarmed police who are part of our public service teams, public safety teams. But we do need to intercept more of those before they happen. And that means not letting a homeless person just stay on the streets forever, making sure there is accountability. Accountability for shoplifting, accountability for crimes against personal property or against the person, that we become a more civilized town again. And we are working hard to get there.
Now, do you think people are coming to your city to steal? You mentioned a lot of the crime on the catalytic converters and other things on the copper, they come from LA. What about the shoplifting?
We are a somewhat wealthy city. So if you're going to shoplift in Beverly Hills or Santa Monica, you know, that's where if you go fishing, you'll find a lot of fish to take home. We don't want that. So I am supporting Prop 36, which will be on your November ballot, that will reduce the amounts you're allowed to steal. It will increase penalties if you were caught using drugs twice. The third time, you will be forced into rehab. We can't let people just ruin their own lives and by nature ruin the lives of business people and of residents. So I believe that we are a compassionate city, but there has to be accountability. We're compassionate toward residents, we're compassionate toward our business community, and of course toward those people who are unhoused. But we can't let someone walk into Target every day and just scoop shopping carts full of stuff and walk out. You know, I've told people at town halls, I've said, are all of you buying your groceries? And they all look at me like, what? Well, according to the law, unless you're buying over $950 worth of groceries, it's a misdemeanor, if that. And many stores won't prosecute. That has to change. And I've used this too much lately, but if you had a 3-year-old and the 3-year-old was walking with you down the sidewalk, the 3-year-old breaks away from you, sees something in the street, goes right into the street, you would breathlessly grab your child, bring them back to the sidewalk, and do your best to make sure they never did that again. We're not doing that with the people who are unhoused on our streets at all. There has to be that accountability. Secondly, superior court judges in Los Angeles have to review the no bail policy and have to find ways to incarcerate people, even if it's just overnight. If you're a drug addict and get taken to jail, the next morning there's a chance that drug personnel may be able to talk to you. Social workers may be able to say, maybe it's time to go into rehab. Maybe it's time to regain your life. Maybe it's time not to die on the streets of Santa Monica.
If you like California Insider and you like to know what's going on in California, make sure to check out Epoch Times. This is a newspaper that started by a group of Chinese Americans because of human rights abuses in China, and now is starting to grow here. Make sure to go to the Epoch Times website and check out the California section, where you can get a lot of fresh perspectives on what's going on in California. Now let's go back to the interview. You mentioned that there's a lot of, from what it seems like, there's a lot of shoplifting. People are coming there. And how's your business community? We've had people on the show that have told us that the business community is impacted significantly. How's the business community doing now?
Well, the business community has been impacted in Santa Monica by a number of things. First, COVID. COVID changed the way people work. People now work remotely. The hustle and bustle, the hundreds of people traversing our streets at lunch hour has dwindled because the people who used to work in downtown Santa Monica now work from home, or they've taken other jobs. And some of our businesses, which were prospering prior to the pandemic, changed their business model. That's happened everywhere. But it has impacted our business community. Their store staffs have to feel safe, coming to work, going away from work, making sure they're safe on their way home. That's impacted businesses. So we've lost businesses because of that. We've lost business because of, I'd say, the rise of Century City Shopping Center, the Village and the Palisades. All those things have impacted our business. But I will tell you, we have over $1 billion in new development coming to downtown Santa Monica. We have a new hotel that just opened, another hotel that will open by October, and both of those are extremely high-end hotels. So they're confident in the continuation of Santa Monica. They're confident that business will continue to rebound and that the city will become safer and safer. As far as our other areas downtown, yeah, we have new stores opening. We have a vacancy rate that, to me, is appalling, but I'm seeing progress. And part of that is the lower rents. You know, as rents lower, people go, I'll take a chance on opening a business. So I see great new businesses coming. I see some businesses who have altered their business models and are prospering. What I want to tell residents of Santa Monica is it is safe to come downtown. It is safe to go to your neighborhood shopping areas. It is a safe city with a fantastic police force. Our police force, our fire department are extremely responsive. And that's something you don't always find in other cities. If something happens, our police are there. I want us to have enough police, enough public safety personnel, so that even if there are 2 or 3 emergencies in the city, we still have police patrolling, because that will reduce the reoccurrence of crime. And the people who are shoplifting, the people who think they can do a home invasion, will start to think that Santa Monica is not the place to commit a crime, because we will prosecute and we will catch you.
We have heard from some residents that some of these encounters with people that having a psychotic issue, it's traumatic.
And
what
they
are
are.
Your thoughts on that?
They're scary. Yesterday I was going to open a store, and at the next corner from where I was going to cut the ribbon, there is an older gentleman who's flailing about, his shirt's off, clothes strewn down the sidewalk, and he's yelling to nobody on the corner of 14th and Wilshire. Now, I hoped that our LA County mobile health van would come by, talk to the person, maybe commit them to a 5150 if they can no longer control themselves. But someone needs to talk to them. And our county health van is confined to their quarters in Santa Monica unless called by a police or fire unit. They're here 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. I expected that LA County van to be on 24 hours a day. It's not. So it's unfortunate that it's limited use and they're not being as aggressive as they need to be. We also, in LA, in Santa Monica, LA County gave us a motel to use for the next 2 years that they're shuttling homeless people who really are from the area who need help. And it's sort of a halfway house where they can get the help they need, the support they need, and then they are guaranteed that they'll move into permanent housing. That's a second thing that was started this year alone. So we are doing as much as we can with new programs, with innovations, but sometimes they fall short, like the caravan. And yeah, I would not want to walk on the same side of the street as that homeless gentleman, because going by, you don't know if unconsciously he's going to flail, if he's going to reach out. So those are the things we have to control, but we recognize them. And the first role of government to be able to change and improve is to recognize the issues. We do recognize them, and we are working to solve those problems.
Do you think you guys are going to pass ordinances? Some cities are passing ordinances to actually ban staying in the streets after this Supreme Court ruling. Are you guys going to do it?
On August 27th, the issue will come to our city council. I believe we will take action. Part of that action has to be directing the police department, directing the city manager, directing our support staff in the city, that it is no longer okay for anybody to sleep on our streets, and find ways to make sure those people get the help they need and do not stay on our streets in Santa Monica, because that will bring our community back fully.
One of the things you mentioned to us today is that you guys want to have compassion and accountability. Were you always on this camp? But I think your city is more compassionate, right? Or
yeah.
did you guys change through the process?
Oh, I think society is changing. I think the pendulum swang completely to the left after the tragic George Floyd killing. So first, the pendulum swung completely here. Now the pendulum, because of public pressure throughout our state, you see it moving. And in Santa Monica, yeah, we've been a compassionate city for 40 years. Our city used to feed homeless individuals on the City Hall lawn. My mom, who's 96, lives in Santa Monica, born in Santa Monica. My mother says when she used to go down to the pier in the late 40s, when she was a teenager and growing up, people were bums, they were hobos. Hobos were passing through town, right, looking for their next job, looking for whatever they were doing, and maybe they drank. Bums hung out by the pier, but the rest of the city was always okay. So we've had this situation for 60, 80, 100 years. We've always been a spot where people gather, and we were the end of Route 66, part of the great migration route in the United States in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. So part of that has been here forever. The difference is that while we are compassionate, I would venture that compassion has its limits. And at some point, compassion has to turn sometimes to tough love, but always to accountability. And what we haven't done in the past possibly is talk about accountability enough, talk about compassion having its limits enough.
Is this why you got involved with running for the city council or being a mayor?
Yeah, I decided to run right after we had a terrible day of looting in our city, probably the worst day in the city's history. And in looking at that day, for the first time in my life, I thought about moving out of Santa Monica. I was so distressed. I was writing newspaper columns. I had a video show in Santa Monica. I had been a city commissioner, Recreation, Parks, and Arts for 18 years. I am a member of Lions, Kiwanis, Rotary, Board of the Salvation Army, Even the high school that I went to, I'm the president of the Alumni Association. So I was intricately involved in the life of our city, preserving our neighborhoods, making sure that height and density wasn't too much, and we preserved a beachside atmosphere for the residents of Santa Monica. I got fed up. I felt we weren't addressing many of the needs that were omnipresent in Santa Monica that needed to be addressed. So I was the top vote getter in the 2020 election and have done my best, not always successfully, but I've done my best to fight, in many cases, the bureaucracy and try and make sure that we are 100% focused on the needs of the people who live in Santa Monica. Because if the residents of the city are happy, then the people who visit our city will be happy. When you go to another city for a vacation, at least I want to see what ticks, what's the life of that city. Where do residents eat? Where do they go? It's not always about being a tourist. It's about trying to integrate yourself into the life of that city or that area for a few days. I think that's what people want in Santa Monica, and they want to experience a beachside ambience, a place that values its history, that values our connection to the arts, that is a city that's safe, a city that's clean, a city that's inviting, and yeah, we're a city that is diverse, that we value all of our residents. But I go back to making sure that everyone in our city, homeless, housed, whoever you are, we want you to be accountable to the mores of society as well.
Phil, as I'm talking to you now, I gather that you have a lot of passion for Santa Monica. Can you tell us why?
I'm born there. My mom's born in Santa Monica. I'm so incredibly lucky to be born in a place I want to continue to live. I was born at St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica. I feel when I die, I'll go to our own cemetery in the city, Woodlawn Cemetery, that's run by the city. My life is in that city. Friends, neighborhoods. I went to school at UCLA and then grad school at Loyola Marymount. So I never went further than 10 miles from my house. I was always locked into Santa Monica for sports, for the arts, for everything I do. My business is in Santa Monica. So for me, this is a very special place. And the honor of my life, the absolute honor of my life, is to be mayor of my home city. Imagine how wonderful that is, that I can look around the city and I've seen every palm tree. I've seen every sunset. And I enjoy talking to our residents in their neighborhoods and welcoming visitors to our city. In the last 3 days, I've cut the ribbon for 2 new businesses in Santa Monica. So contrary to what you may hear, Santa Monica is not only open for business, but there is a tremendous amount of investment coming in. There's new housing on the way. We are a city that has gone through dips before. It's no different. The promenade has had, for instance, at least 3 different iterations since 1965. This is not new. Because of COVID, because of what happened in the world, maybe we're feeling it a little bit more. But we're coming back, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the resilience of the people in our city. I'm proud of our police department and fire department who do their absolute best to make sure our city is safe. And I'm proud of the new businesses that are cutting their ribbons.
So Phil, one of the challenges that a lot of the cities in California are facing, especially cities that are on the beach towns, they're mandated to build a lot of housing. And some of them have told us that they don't have any space. They have to rebuild. How are you guys impacted?
We're one of those. And the state legislature, and I believe the state government, overreached. We're a charter city. We're supposed to be able to control our own planning. The state usurped that from us a couple of years ago. It has been tough. 8,890 some odd units is a lot to build in an 8.3 square mile city where we have absolutely no open space unless we start taking the sand and making that into high rises. We obviously don't want to do that. So it's been difficult. 6,100 of those units are supposed to be affordable. The rest have already been built. So the retail market rate units are already either under construction or planning is already approved. It's going to change the face of our city greatly. Not a change I'm in favor of, but the state is above our city. You can't argue with a giant because at the end of the day, they will crush you. You know, it's not Jack and the Beanstalk. So it is important that as we try and build these units that we're required to build, that we also take as much care as we can not to disrupt the built environment in Santa Monica and to make sure that we have the infrastructure we need for all these extra residents. Where do we get the water from? How do we make sure that we are has an environmentally conscious city, that we're not making changes that destroy the fabric and thread and character of our community? So while I'm unhappy about much of the development, the affordable housing is necessary because the rates of apartments, the rates of buying houses in Santa Monica, the impact of real estate values is so much, so tremendous in our city. And that has created problems. So do I want to build 18-story buildings, 24-story buildings in our city? Absolutely not. We are supposed to be a beachside city where once I joked that palm trees should be the highest thing that is ever built in Santa Monica. And then I looked at some of our palm trees and said, wow, those are really tall. So I have to go with a shorter version of palm trees. I think our city has always lacked park space. Yes, we have a beach, but in terms of parks for a very active population in great weather, we don't have the parks we need. We don't have the open space we need. So as we get more of these tall buildings, we have to make sure we equally increase the amount of green space in the city and the amount of our tree canopy. Our tree canopy is decreasing. It needs to increase. So all those things factor in to the housing, and they will factor into the needs for more police and more fire, because you'll have more public safety concerns as you keep densifying a city. Right now, we're over 11,000 people per square mile. That's an impacted, heavy population city.
Now, when you mentioned 6,100 units that are affordable, do you have to build a lot more? Because a lot of times these affordable, there's a component that you have to build a lot more, and then a certain portion will be affordable.
You would love to build 100% affordable. So we've been using city property in order to do that. And we've identified 2 or 3 sites in the city where we can change what's on the ground and build affordable housing. We'll be doing that. 4th and 5th in Arizona, the Bergamot Art Complex, other areas in our city. Affordable housing is what we need to build. Inclusionary housing, where you get a trickle of affordable, a trickle of middle class, and then 80%, 75% market rate doesn't help us when rents are $4,000 to $5,000 a month. In my journeys as part of the Homelessness Task Force to Washington, D.C., we worked on 2 other things which would help. One, the federal government would guarantee that an affordable housing complex would be all Section 8, all guaranteed by the government, which would allow a developer to build a 100% affordable complex and be assured that the rent was going to come in every month from the federal government. That guarantee is important. Secondly, for people who were in need on Section 8 vouchers from the federal government, the rents in Santa Monica are above the cap for Section 8. So we need to even that. We've asked the federal government to raise the caps on Section 8 housing. 2 of the other parts of the veterans vouchers that I was talking about earlier. And lastly, I and many other mayors, and this goes back to homelessness as well, are asking for the federal government to declare a nationwide emergency on mental health and hire 100,000 more mental health workers, distribute them to cities so that cities around the nation could combat their drug crisis, their mental health crisis. But as far as housing is concerned, we are going to do our best to fulfill our mandates and work to lower the coming mandate in 2029.
Phil, do you have any other thoughts for our audience?
Yes, come to Santa Monica. We are not dead. We are not overrun by crime. And we have great things coming. 2026, we will host at least a part of the World Cup festivities. 2028, the Olympics come to Los Angeles. We are scheduled to be the host for beach volleyball. So imagine a 19,000-seat temporary arena just to the north of Santa Monica Pier with people teaming in to shop, to dine, to experience our city from around the world. I think those are great things to anticipate. And next July 10th, 2025, is our 150th anniversary of the founding of the modern Santa Monica. That's important. I think that will help unify our residents and provide a great template for what's to come. Santa Monica is resilient. Santa Monica overall is prosperous. Santa Monica will get a handle on the homeless situation that we have in our city, help those people to get off the streets, and work with the state government, federal government, and LA County to do better in making sure that funds are spent wisely, that we do our best to make sure our town is inviting for everybody. I invite everyone, come to Santa Monica, experience our city, and I would doubt the naysayers because I've lived there all my life. I'm going to continue to live there. My mother, born in Santa Monica, still there, and we love our city. For residents of Santa Monica, participate in government. Don't just sit on the sidelines and complain. Right now, we're starting an election season. I encourage every resident to be involved, to talk to your current legislatures and future legislators about what to them makes a great Santa Monica. What do they want to see? And how together do we make the city safer? Do we make the city better? And make sure that you're also patronizing your neighborhoods. We have great neighborhood shopping and markets and food and restaurants in the city. Make sure that you're experiencing those. Shop and buy in Santa Monica, and don't be afraid to talk to your city council people. Don't be afraid to email me, to call me. I respond, and I respond to every resident that I possibly can. I care, and I believe our other city council members care as well. I also, lastly, I'd love to see more of our residents of all ages on commissions. That's why I'm starting a youth city council. That's why culturally we add a poet laureate to our city. That's why I believe we are and will be forever a city of the arts, but we need to make sure that we show that we allow it to blossom citywide.
Phil Brock, Mayor of Santa Monica, it was great to have you on California Insider.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.